Roll call, Mrs. Hahn. Present.
Present.
Here.
Present.
All right, thank you. For our Pledge of Allegiance, we do have a treat. We have one of our past graduates, Ensign Melvin, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll stand.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. All right, we are on to adoption of the agenda. I do have a couple of things I would like to ask to move around. Item G from the consent needs to be taken off.
none of them. Oh.
And we'll move that to another board meeting, right? Item G in consent.
Okay.
And then I would like to ask to have item 7E moved up right after 7B. The budget talks. Are you okay with that?
So you want to move item E behind B?
Correct.
And then
So
do
it'll go
C.
A, B, E,
Okay,
and then C and D. Will that work?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as amended?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our call to the public. I do have several speaker cards here, and if there are any more, you can certainly hand it to Dr. Chestnut, and we'll get those in. We do ask you to keep your comments appropriate, no inappropriate language. Keep them to 3 minutes. Board members cannot address any comments made during the call to the public, but we can ask staff to look into it later. So if there's anything else, we will go forward. First one, we have Randy Lazar. I feel like I'm on Price is Right. Come on down.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut, thank you for allowing me to speak during the call to the public. Okay, what I wanted to talk about was there is an item under Section 7, action items. It's Section D. And one thing that you'll all be discussing and possibly approving is additional funding in part for the academic focus at the 9 schools. So at Pima Butte, what we did this past year is we had a focus group and a steering committee, and we looked at ways that we could use our additional funding for our school. And our focus for next year is going to be science, technology, and the arts across the curriculum. Now with this year's funding, we were able to purchase some technology items and also some art materials and also some science materials. But we still have a larger focus for next year in terms of the arts with band and choir. And what we're really hoping for is that you will approve additional funding for the focus schools so that we can move forward with setting up some type of a band program and a choir program for our students, as well as after school, and then also for some extracurricular activities after school, in particular with science. So again, we've already utilized whatever funding we had available for this year to purchase part of what we need for next year, but we're still missing a key component to help us with band, choir, and additional extracurricular activities. So I would just hope and encourage you all to really take a close look at that and move forward with approval of the focus funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lorena Kelly.
I'm here on behalf of the teachers in our district who would support the passing of an override. I know that Dr. Chestnut is looking into earmarking funds to reduce class sizes, increase technology, and add specialized classes throughout the district. All of these steps would directly impact student achievement in a positive way. I fully support these functions with that money. With the passing of the override, I would hope that the board can look into restoring the 6.5 years of salary freeze. We have had excellent teachers here in our district who have remained loyal to the district and have stayed during these struggling times. They deserve to have their steps returned. This would ensure that teachers could drop their second jobs, take continuing education classes, and increase quality planning time, and attract seasoned teachers to our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. Mary Grace?
Dr. Chestnut, President Anderson, and members of our school board, I'm here to speak in favor of putting an override on the ballot. As a very proud MUSD mom to 3 excelling students, it is extremely exciting to see that the override funds will be used towards addressing the academic needs of all of our students, including our accelerated learners. I cannot tell you enough how very important it is to see the gifted program come back and for our honors AP courses to be expanded with even more opportunities for our students to benefit from. It is crucial that our community get behind this and see how vital it is to be able to raise the bar for our students. When we have great schools, we have a great community. We must break away from what once was and look towards a brighter future. We have a long road ahead of us to be able to break down the myths about budget and financial issues within the district. Once we work together and be very clear and upfront, I have faith that our community will unite towards working together and building an even stronger district that benefits not only our students, but the community as a whole. As a parent, I extend a call to action to my fellow parents to become involved in this process. It is crucial that we as parents support this and do what we can to become a part of the solution. When we work together, amazing things will happen for our students. I ask that you vote in favor of putting the override on the ballot. I will do what I can at my 3 schools to help get parents involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Grace. Jasmine Melvin.
Good evening. I was asked to speak on where I came from and where I plan on going. I am a graduate of Maricopa High School, class of 2009, and from there I went to the Naval Academy Preparatory School. From there I went to the Naval Academy, in which I majored in general engineering with the mechanical engineering background. I graduated recently, May 23rd, 2014, and my plans are I go to Pensacola, Florida at the end of this month to go to flight school, and where I will be a naval flight officer, and after those 2 years I will go on to my platform, which I don't know yet.
Thank you, Jasmine. We're very proud of you. Councilwoman Gussie. I know that's not what it says on here, but
Good evening, board members. I'm a parent of a current MUSD student, and I've been very involved with the community here for several years now. I'm here to support the override, specifically option 2. I am often criticized for being a bit blunt and outspoken, but for those who really don't know me, I am a bit of a fighter. I grew up with the idea that something worth having is worth fighting for. I have a 20-year-old that graduated from Maricopa High School and is off to ASU in the fall. He was at CAC for the past 2 years and made the dean's list for several semesters. I am forever grateful because the teachers of the school district dedicated their time to prepare him and gave him a great educational foundation. In the fall, my youngest will start Maricopa High School. He has been a student of MUSD since kindergarten. I'll talk about a little bit of myself. As you can see, I have faith in the school district and a vested interest. I grew up as an ESL kid. For those that don't know, ESL is English as a second language. When I started school, many of the kids thought that I was mute because I didn't speak to them. I did not speak because I didn't know English. I am sure many of you have encountered people that speak another language other than English. I've seen this several times. People raise their voice and speak louder as if the volume was the reason why they didn't understand them. Now, the problem is that no matter how loud you speak, you will not be understood because they speak a different language. No matter how loud and how often we scream override, we will not be understood until we start speaking everyone's language. It's human nature that we all ask ourselves, what's in it for me? I think I may be the only one on council that has a child with an MUSD. And I gave you some examples as to the reasoning why I really want this override to pass. Those of us willing to fight for this override, we need to be prepared to answer those questions. What's in it for everyone? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to fight. Be prepared to speak the language, because no matter if your children are in the school district or not, this will affect all of us. Every single resident of this fine city of Maricopa and the surrounding area. Now, if you'd allow me just another second to say this en Spanish. Buenas tardes, me llamo Julia Gassi. Estoy aquí para hablar sobre el override. Es muy importante que nosotros nos apoyemos y seguimos adelante con este distrito, porque sin nuestra ayuda no vamos a disfrutar todo lo que es posible para nuestros estudiantes. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about the Let's Move program. Thank you very much for being such a part of the program. And the city of Maricopa is bringing it on board again. We are having our free programming over at Copper Sky, so if anyone's interested, go on the website. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Councilwoman Gussie. That's the end of the cards that I have. Is there anybody else out there that wanted to address the board before we move on? Oh, you even got a card. Henry Wade, come on up.
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the school board. The other day in our city council meeting, and I'm running for city council, I had to preface that. In our city council meeting, I indicated that I was challenging my fellow candidates to be positive and to stay on the issues at hand. Although city council does not govern the school board, does not govern the schools, does not play a role in that directly, one of the things that the community is concerned about is economic development. And without quality education, it is unlikely that we're going to get any economic development of any substance in Maricopa. So for those that say that it's too expensive, I would suggest to them that it's too expensive not to do. We need to have a school that we're proud of. We are proud of the school district. We need to have a school district that has the resources it needs in order to produce the kind of quality students, the quality academic atmosphere that will encourage people to come to our town. So I come standing here today to suggest that if we want to grow, then we have to put our emphasis behind our students. And to that effect, we need to pass an override. We need an override. We need those funds that had been targeted to come forth previously that we're not going to get. So we need to figure out a way to do that. I don't have any children in the school district. I have grandchildren. I have a grandson that did attend the school at one time. I have no children here. So, as people might say, I have no dog in this fight. But I have a dog in the fight because I stand up for what's going on in our community. So I'm hoping that other people will come forth and stand up in front of us and suggest that they will support the override. I do, and I'd like to see others do so as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate what you all do.
Thank you, Henry. All right, seeing that we have no other ones, we will move on. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. Superintendent's report, Dr. Chestnut.
Thank you, President Anderson, members of the board. I have a few slides tonight, and a few of them really should have been brought to you at the last governing board meeting, but I barely made it here just, physically, and I didn't really have time to get my slides. So I'm doing a little catch up here. Been meaning to mention that next school year, MUSD will begin the Smart Snacks program, which means that all of our snacks served in lunch lines at all of our schools will meet nutrition standards. And that's kind of an old picture. You're not going to see so many chips, although I do understand that some chips can qualify if they meet nutrition standards, generally smaller portion size and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I think that's correct, yes. But otherwise, every snack will be probably a little bit different and definitely will meet the nutritional guidelines. Our breakfast and lunch programs already meet those nutritional guidelines, but this is part of the new requirements that are phasing in next school year. That's a good picture of Lupita Kalos from Maricopa High School. And Suzette Moe, is she here, still here? There she is right there. She is leading the charge on this and making sure that we're ready, and I appreciate her efforts. And she and her staff do a great job with our breakfast and lunch programs, and this will be kind of the newest wrinkle that they are implementing next year. So you'll be hearing more about this, and I'm unclear if we have snacks examples here. We do. So there we go. So that is what the new snacks will look like, I believe. And those cookies also meet nutritional guidelines? Like, so that's the kind of cookie you would see on the snack bar next year. Fantastic. I had nothing to do with this part of the report, but thank you, Suzette. I will take a cookie, thank you. A report always goes much better when it includes food. I learned that. Just had to comment on the unification celebration, the class of 2018, our third annual event, and it was a great event. And a great picture there of the Anderson family celebrating 8th grade graduation. And Willie Lang took that picture. Willie, I really did give you credit on the bottom of that picture, but I think it cut off on my slides. Sorry about that. But anyway, it was a great event and a wonderful tradition in our school district. Also, a couple weeks ago, I was able to attend the charter meeting of the Interact Club. It was held at City Hall, and the Rotary Club is sponsoring a high school Rotary Club, is basically what Interact is. And they've been working on this all year. They had the official charter meeting dedication, beginning that particular night. And a lot of the kids involved with the formation of this club are seniors, so they won't be there, some of the kids that are in the picture. But they have officers elected for next year, and they wore some Rotary, the seniors actually wore Rotary stoles, is that what we call them, on graduation night. So they're definitely up and running, and we know that's going to be a great club for our students to be involved in. Oriented towards service, which is a wonderful thing for high school kids to work on, and a great way for them to build their college resumes and that kind of thing. And then on the 22nd, we had a great graduation ceremony. Another really good picture by Willie Lang. And I think this one I forgot to write it on the bottom. So I'm just going to confess that right now. So Willie, there it is. Thank you for taking that picture. That was a great evening and a great event and a big celebration, and very proud of our seniors, particularly proud of the $2.7 million in scholarship offers. And in fact, we just learned this week that we had 5 seniors that qualified for the Ames Scholarship, which gives 25% tuition to any state university. So that one just came in actually this last week. So a lot of great accomplishments by our students. Another great event was on the 23rd, the day after the last day with students. This was our last day for staff, and we had our second Best of the Best recognition event. And what we did was we had over 100 people nominated, and we had them just stay on the stage once they got nominated. And it was kind of impressive to see that many people up on stage. And then we announced the top 1 or 2 winners in each category. And so that was a great morning, good way to end the school year. And it was fun to see Jim and Dina Irving recognized as volunteers of the year. Even though they weren't there, we knew they were going to be on vacation, but it was still fun to recognize them. So a lot of good recognition for our staff, volunteers, coaches, substitute teachers, and it was a fun morning. On the 30th, all 5 board members and I attended the Arizona Business and Education Coalition annual conference, and it was really an excellent session. Where's what? Oh, that's right. But your phone doesn't get credit. I'm sorry. We don't know the person that snapped the photo. Anyway, it was a good event, and there is, as Mr. Wade mentioned, there is a big connection between community development, education, business, economic development. Those things are all intertwined, and was really the theme of the conference. And if we want to have a strong, thriving community, we need a strong, thriving school district. So had some very good sessions on that topic, and it was a day well spent. And Lisa also posted a quorum notice for us, which was a good thing, because we had all 5 members there. On June 4th, Mr. Rausch and I attended Central Arizona College breakfast to discuss a possible CAC Business and Industry Council. And kind of in the discussion stages right now, and this was the first meeting. It was a good opportunity to meet some people from the University of Arizona research facility and the USDA facility, and anyway, it'll be interesting to see if this moves forward. It sounds like a good idea, and hope it happens, and I'll keep you posted on that. And then this is the project that's going on right now. It's very exciting. I snapped this picture this morning, and the stadium field turf warranty replacement project is well underway. That is new turf that you see there, beginning on about the goal line and up to about the 30-yard line. The crew's out there actually gluing the seam together, I think is stapling? Sewing. They sew it together. It's quite a project, but they are making good progress. Our maintenance department and Mr. Roush did a super job of getting this field ready. They spread extra fill material to make sure we had a good solid base. We had to fill in the swales, of course, that were on the sidelines. We're doing some minor changes to electrical and sprinklers, and all that work needed to be done over the weekend so that this crew could be putting in the turf beginning on Monday. So our staff spent a lot of extra time in the heat this weekend, painted the goal posts, and got everything ready. They rolled the field, and anyway, it's going to be wonderful when that project gets done. So looking forward to that. And that's all I have for now. We'll come back to this slide later.
I was waiting for the popcorn for the movie. All right, that brings us to our governing board member report. Okay, I have something too, and I'll let you go.
Well, I just had the opportunity to speak at the Auction Indian Community's Middle School and High School Awards Banquet, which was a really nice little ceremony. The community will have of course, our students will graduate through the ceremonies within the school district, but then the community will have their own banquet where the parents can come together and eat, and it was just a really nice evening. Also, I just also wanted to share that I went to the City of Maricopa employee picnic, which was held at the Copper Sky facility. Beautiful facility. It was the first time I'd ever been there. I got to go as a guest with my sister, who is an instructor there at the facility. It's great to come to a place in Maricopa where there's so many nice families. I saw babies, and I saw the police there, and I saw all these wonderful people together. And I was talking to my sister, and I said, you know, I don't know anybody, but we live in such a great town, and we have some of the most wonderful people living in our community, and it was really great to see everybody together. What a wholesome night. Families, kids playing on the grass. It was great. The weather was beautiful, and I toured the facility. It's beautiful. I saw a lot of my Auction Indian community members there working out. I'm like, good, you guys are all going there. I'm great. That's awesome. So just want to share that with everybody, and just let everybody know how really grateful and appreciative I am of our really fine city.
The legislative committee meeting on Friday. It was supposed to end at noon. We didn't get done until after 5. Good discussion. Very, very passionate. What this does is set the legislative agenda for the 2015 legislative session. And so that information I'll be presenting it in August, and then we'll be voting it as a congregation, as all the school board members. We vote on it all at one time in September. So it's a good opportunity to get involved, to get behind your legislation, figure out what's coming down the pike. But the other part of that was I was able to do this with about 30 other board members from across the state. So it's interesting to share stories. And I just wanted to tell all of these fine people that I serve on the dais with how wonderful they are, and what an honor it is for me to actually share information and come to a board meeting and learn something every single time I come here from each one of you. So I appreciate you. I know you put a lot of time into it, and I just want to tell you thank you. So, anything else? All right, moving on. Information work study. Dr. Chestnut. While we're waiting, I do want to recognize that Mayor Price has joined us. I had to embarrass you because you always do it to me. So,
President Anderson, governing board members, as you know, we have been talking about the possibility of an override. And I brought these 4 options to you at our last meeting, and so they should look very familiar. I believe that there are basically 4 options after discussions with the Override Recommendation Committee, and it is quite a range. And I think on the low end, we need to consider a 5% override for 7 years. That'll be very similar to what we did 2 years ago, except we had proposed a 5% for 3 years, I believe it was. So it'd be a longer term, but same amount. With the 5% override, we could fund 20 additional teachers and also instructional technology. And those are 2 items that really do resonate with voters we know statewide and in our own district. Second option would be a 7%, and because it would be more money, we could do a few more things. We could hire 24 additional teachers, and that would include some specialty teachers. We could add to the gifted art technology area, we could add to the honors program, and we could add at the secondary level to the honors program. In addition, we could add fine arts, foreign language teachers at the elementary and secondary level. So each price point, you have a few more options. And that would be would raise a total of $1.95 million annually. The third option, number 3, would be a 9%, and that would allow us to buy 30 additional teachers plus the additional fine arts, foreign language teachers listed below would be a total of 8 in that category. And I kind of lumped them as 1 and 1A because I just wanted to make the point that this is all about hiring extra teachers and the extra programs that would come with them. The first priority would be class size in general education. That would be the 5% version. But if we go for a larger amount, then we can do some more program things at elementary and secondary level. And in instructional technology, of course, we could spend a little bit more money depending on which option we choose. And we know that instructional technology will continue to be an item that we need to expand. We will have wireless built out in all 9 schools as a result of the Ochin grant. That project should be done within a few weeks. And we want to be able to take advantage of that. We want to be able to expand blended learning. We're expanding it to grade 9 this year, and if all goes well, I think we'll have more interest next year, and I think that will continue to grow. So that's why instructional technology is a theme on all these options. And then the fourth option would be 15%, and we could hire a lot of teachers at that rate, 53 additional teachers. And then there's a certain, about 8 fine arts, foreign language teachers are probably our max at this time at the secondary level. So that really doesn't change. But those are the range of options. I think that my goal would be at our next meeting, we could have a more detailed discussion about this. I think it's a little premature to talk about it because of this next slide. We hired a research organization to do an attitude and opinion survey for the MUSD community. And about 2 hours ago, they sent the final report. They were doing the phone survey. It started on Saturday. I believe they finished yesterday. They surveyed 300 people that are registered voters, and it was a random sample, so it should be valid and reliable. And there were about 40 questions, and just to kind of tease you, I only listed question number 33. Because I think you're going to want to digest this entire document before we really have a discussion about it. But I think there is a lot of good news and interesting, encouraging news in this survey, and 33 is the best example. So for a few questions prior to 33, there was a little bit of an education component, talking about recent cuts in state funding over the last 5 or 6 years, talking about the fact that we do not have an override, talking about the fact that our neighboring districts do have an override, talking about the fact that the legislature of the state of Arizona encourages districts to run overrides. The fact that 85% of the students in the state of Arizona are in districts that have overrides. And so that's kind of spelled out in a nice way during the survey. And then this question is asked. Now knowing this additional information, would you vote yes to approve the new budget override or vote no to not approve the new budget override? And the answer was a 57% yes. And I thought that was quite encouraging. But you're going to want to look at all the details, and I think this is the kind of discussion we'd like to have in 2 weeks, and we can really talk about this in depth once you've had a chance to look at that. So was good information, and you'll be hearing more about that and getting the final report. And that's all I have at this time, but I would certainly be glad to answer any questions you might have.
So we'll try to put that on the next agenda? Okay.
Yep.
Good, thank you. So those that are listening in TV land, if you will email us, because this is important, we need to hear from everybody, and let us know what your thoughts are. We are here representing you, so we need to know what you want. So that's your homework. All right, that brings us to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to 7A, discussion and possible approval of expense voucher. It is voucher number 1449. Do I have a motion or discussion?
If there's no discussion, I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7B, Mr. Beckett, our HR schedule.
Dr. Chestnut, you have the personnel schedule for this evening in front of you. If there are any questions, I can speak to them now.
I have one question. Let me pull it up here. Oh. Okay, item number 36. There wasn't a cost reflected on the cover sheet. Is that because this was one of those positions we already approved earlier, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
President Anderson.
All right.
Yes.
And will this keep us in compliance with all of the reports and evaluations that need to be done?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I have one additional question to that.
Yes.
Mr. Beckett. By establishing this new position, will it save us some funding that we've been outsourcing by having an in-school, in-district person?
Thank you, Member Couturier. My understanding is we have done some contractual services for an on-site psychologist this year, and again, those costs typically are higher than what we pay if we had an employee engage with us as our own. So yes, we will save money.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Beckett? No? Okay.
Looks like you've been busy hiring.
We have been
For all your
busy.
hard work.
And I'm just going to say again, it's so nice not to have a riff on there. This is the first year in a long time, so it's a nice problem to have. All right. If there's no more discussion, do we have any motions?
Approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. All right, that brings us to 7E. So if we'll jump down to discussion and possible approval of the fiscal year 15 proposed budget. Dr. Chestnut.
Mr. Roush and his staff have been doing a lot of work on this budget presentation, so I will turn it over to him.
President Anderson, members of the board, and Dr. Chestnut, I'd like to go over our proposed budget, and you've had a chance to see it, and we've been over it several times. And the document that you do have is reflective of that, but really we almost have to go through the PowerPoint to see what's in that document, because it doesn't quite spell it out in the format that Arizona Department of Education wants it. So with that, the front page of the budget document is reflective of this information. I want to point out that, again, we do the proposed budget at a higher amount, and our reconciliation of that budget is done in December. So we always want to make sure we get the most that we can, and so the proposed budget is a little bit higher. We anticipate it'll be lower. It is based on about 6,050 FTE students. So the general budget limit will be about $31,438,000 unrestricted capital budget limit on the document. That's what it's called, but it is the DAA, or the District Additional Assistance. They just haven't changed those forms. And I think that's a high number too. We're working with their formulas, and we're in between using the charter funding and the non-charter public school funding. I would suggest that that's probably, the formula is probably incorrect, but that's what it came out to, so that's what we're putting in there. Talked with AD several times, and by the way, they try and get their formulas out so fast that they sometimes make errors. We found some that we identified to them that they didn't know they had too. So $6,056,000 I think is going to be high, but that's what the formula came out to. The federal projects, about $4,245,000. That may go up during the year, and we'll adjust that in our budget revisions. Impact aid, that's the total amount that's in there, $425,000. Again, on the front page, this is how it's presented. The expenditures of the maintenance and operation, we have it at $31,438,000. Unrestricted capital, again, the DAA, we're budgeting expenditures of $3,539,000. If it does change through a budget revision, we will update that. That's what we have for the proposed budget. And some of the highlights. Again, it's based on 6,050 ADM, and that could go down. That is always a projection, and it's hard to hit that right on the nose, as you can imagine. The revenues increases besides the student ADM, inflation factor of 1.4%. It's about $425,000. Student success for the fiscal year. Per the formula, we're supposed to receive $177,000. Again, there could be some errors in that because that's a new form for them, but we've checked it with them, and that's what it's coming out to. And it may come up a little bit higher too. There's possibility. Expenditure increases, 1.25 of a salary step for about $787,000. ELL staff, we had to move from the ELL fund to the M&O fund about 5.5 elementary staff that we are now funded for this year, and that's from the state of Arizona. That's about $270,000, so that we had to put that in our M&O budget. SPED staff increases, we put that in our budget, $240,000 of 4 staff members. High school staff increase, 2 math positions in the budget, $100,000. All-day kinder staff increase at least 3, and that depends on our numbers. Preliminary, our numbers seem to be coming in a little bit higher. $150,000. SPED private day school increase. It's just our cost of the tuition and transportation of those students that we serve in alternative programs that we don't have staff or programs to give them those services. It's about $180,000, and that could go up or down depending on the kids. CAVIT compliance budget increase, about $50,000 for staff or other equipment depending on how the program administration chooses to spend that. Utility, supplies, equipments, inflation increase about $50,000, and 3 elementary certified positions, about $150,000. We're adding to that, and that is to be funded with the student success funds.
Wait, don't change that to the question.
Yes.
So you have on here the 3 kindergarten staff, which we need to add. And you also have further up there, you've got 3 additional teachers out of the student success, right?
Yes.
Well, additional staff, it doesn't say there, it says student success preliminary budget received. And then you've got the 3 teachers down below, elementary teachers. The 3 teachers below are different from the ones that could be hired by student success funds?
The Student Success Fund revenues are about $170,000, and they should be hired. No, the elementary teacher increase is for the, that's per the revenue above, for the 3 certified positions.
So you've got the 3 kindergarten and the 3 elementary.
Yes.
And then potentially we have more that will be hired with the Student Success Fund?
No.
No, because the money's listed separate.
Money goes into the M&O fund.
So if I could take a shot at that, so the revenue's shown up above. So that's the revenue source if the board decides to add 3 certified positions on the bottom line. We haven't actually made that decision yet, but the revenue is on the top and the expenditure's on the bottom. And so if the board chooses to do that, we will have the funding for it. We anticipate that funding will continue and would pay for the positions next year and the year after and that kind of thing.
With the Student Success Fund?
With Student Success Fund. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Just for clarity. So the sped staff increase, we'd get 4 new staff members? Is that what that is, or? And then we'll potentially be able to, if we decide, hire 3 certified positions, right? Okay. And then, just what you said, Tori, the one at the top, student success funds will also be able to hire more? No. Okay. That just is.
It's confusing because it's 2 different amounts. It's listed 2 different places. Because you've got the 177 listed and then you've got the 150 listed, which to me is 2 separate funds when you list it separate.
Well, it's actually in the same fund. It's in the M&O fund. So this, all the highlights we're talking about tonight is the M&O fund. There was a revenue increase in that fund for $177,000. The choice to expend that, the bottom, the expenditure choice was what's for $150 for 3 certified positions.
Okay.
Could be 3.5 certified positions for $175,000, but it, our proposal is 3 positions.
Okay.
And the $27,000 would be spent in a different way per Dr. Chestnut and Krista Roden's probably recommendation, right?
I get it.
To make the other point, as Mr. Roush prepared the budget, he put enough capacity in the proposed budget that you're looking at tonight that we can justify these 3 elementary positions. Now, those haven't been authorized yet, as I mentioned, and if the board's decided, well, we don't want to hire those 3 elementary positions, that would essentially just add $150,000 to reserve funds, or it could be used for another purpose or something like that. But we're just trying to anticipate where we think we're going to end up, but we haven't taken action on that last item on the slide.
Right.
All the others we have taken action on.
Clear, got it.
Okay. And this is the proposed.
I know.
The adoption, well, we're scheduled to do that next board meeting. Okay. And that's, again, feel free to ask those questions. We work with it all the time, so it's second nature, and I know it is confusing, so. The DAA, or the unrestricted capital, fund budget highlights, revenue increases, the charter funding increase, $2,300,000. That's what we're going with. I will tell you that we did get different information even recently, so it's real interesting working with ADE, so that may change.
They were at the meeting on Friday. Never mind.
It's interesting working with ADE. Expenditure increases district-wide, technology, as we've talked about, the miscellaneous computers and equipment, $200,000. The academic focus, all 9 schools budget for fiscal year 15, $300,000, and the purchase of 1 regular route bus, $125,000.
Okay. have another question.
Yes.
The academic focus money, the $300,000, can that be used for people or just programs? I mean, I know we have to be able to maintain it for 3 years.
It,
Or,
the answer is yes, it can be used for both, but the
Okay.
problem is maintaining it. So we would have to, again, budget for it in DAA.
right,
It can't be spent out of DAA, but we would make a transfer into M&O.
into M&O. Okay, just curious.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about purchasing a bus, so have we not already authorized the purchase of a bus this year, or have we? We have not? Okay, that was just in proposals, but we haven't authorized it yet, so this is the one bus that you've been requesting
Right.
throughout the year.
Right.
Okay.
It's not an extra gold-plated one?
No, you know.
It doesn't look like it,
That's-
that cost.
These are pretty,
Yeah.
these have our options on it, but buses.
I'm just giving you a hard time,
I
Mayor. You don't have to answer
know,
that.
boy, they're expensive.
Yeah.
I know.
They really are, and this, we essentially have about 30 buses, and it gets us back into a schedule of replacement, but it's, so. Any other questions? Okay. Some of the other fund and budgetary highlights, some minor increases, which is positive in the federal grants. 301 funds, we're anticipating if everything were the same, that we would see some reduction in that. That's funded through property sales and property rentals, and that has went down a little bit. Now, if our enrollment does increase, it may just offset that, in which we're anticipating an enrollment increase. So that might be zero. So we'll just have to see. So a little bit lower. I will tell you that this year's 301 is, we haven't released the number, but it is more than last year, so that would be a positive amount. I keep getting questions, but until we finalize that, I'm not going to divulge the number because we've had to change it because of different variables, but it will be positive. Auction, again, we're in the second year of the grant, 1.3 million. As we get through the year, just a reminder, we may have to transfer some money from the new DAA to balance M&O budget. Just depends on the variables that affect the budget. The adjacent waste fund, this year we're going to be using that. We've had some utility, electrical issues that we need to take care of at the high school, and we're working with ED3 to do that. So that's another fund. It doesn't affect M&O, and we do have money to do that. So it's basically the off-site utilities. Yep.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
On the 301 money, is there still litigation going on as far as trying to get the back inflation? Okay.
There is. The Arizona School Board Association and others and Arizona school business officials still have the lawsuit pending. I haven't recently had an update, but it is right now favorable for the state educational system.
To reinstate that.
And it could be up to $1.5 billion. So
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
yeah, that would be nice. And that's pretty much it. Any other questions?
Not from me. Any other have questions for Aaron? Any questions for Dr. Chestnut?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
After gathering all of the reports that you have worked so hard and gave to us, which I really do appreciate, when I look at the one report where you gave us the M&O and district-assisted funds through fiscal year 17, which is really nice. And that's great, and it shows how we're going to be using all of those, if the reserves, if we don't pass an override and we continue on going how we're going. But I'm looking at, you'd also given us the reserves and projected reserves for all of our reserve funds. And so my question is, on some of these other reserve funds, which we're not showing balances, if some of these could be used to help with the academic focuses, to help with, maybe, hiring a nurse and maintaining that. Or even a nurse's aide. Or nurse's aide, health assistant, somebody that's in the office. But I'm just wondering on some of these funds that say they can be used for general operations, like projected funds for the end of the year for Medicaid reimbursement. The reserves was projected at 400,000.
Some of those could be. I just want to point out on that spreadsheet, and Christian, could you bring that spreadsheet up? It's a spreadsheet that's separate from the
I
other
don't
one,
know if it was
please.
in this one.
There you go. Thank you.
That's this one, okay.
They could be used, and we're using, by fiscal year 17, we would use a majority of those to balance our budget with this current.
Of just the M&O and the DAA?
No,
I mean,
if
I'm
you- if you
looking,
look at-
looking at this that says other
right.
funds.
I created a spreadsheet that showed the 3% balance that was asked for. And that's up here right now. If you want to look at fiscal year 17
Yes.
and want to look at adjustments and other transfers, that would spend down the majority of that money to balance the budget in fiscal year 17.
So the adjustments and the transfers are taking out of all of these other reserve accounts?
Mm-hmm.
But some of it can't.
The ones that could, we would take it out of. And that's what that, if you look at the spreadsheet that we went over last time, and it was asked to do a 3%
Right.
reserve. So I did that and prepared that. In order to make that 3% reserve, in fiscal year 17, we'd have to make cuts of about $1.2 million on the expenditure side, and then on the revenue side, spend the rest of those funds to balance that budget without an override, to make that 3%. That was, you guys asked to have that projection.
What are you thinking? Are there questions or
Just trying to understand.
comments, concerns? Okay.
Comments and concerns. When I look at the spreadsheet that was given to us, the budget committee recommendations, the additional revenue and the expenses, and then I look at what you have just proposed, you have, it was projected on this that the reserve from the charter funds would be $673,000 if you look at that spreadsheet. When you do all the totals of what you're projected, what you've just presented us, it really only comes out to $300,000 out of that.
Kristen, do you want to scroll down
It's
a little bit?
it's the one that had the charter funds budget committee, although not everything was listed on this because you've added the student success fund, you've added the 3 teachers, the maintenance, the utility supplies, that was increased to $50,000 from $45,000, and then the bus was not added on it.
This is a updated spreadsheet after we did the proposed
This one.
budget
This one.
that we have right here. It's an updated spreadsheet after we
one's
did the
easier to
proposed
read.
budget. So this has the updated numbers in it.
This has the updated. Oh, I got so confused. I don't know. I give up. I give up.
Spreadsheets have evolved, and the ones we were looking at with the budget committee were several months back, so we refined those numbers a little bit. I think that's what Mr. Roush is saying, and I think we can, maybe outside this meeting, explain that connection. I don't have that particular spreadsheet in front of me right now, but I think Mr. Roush could probably explain the reason why those numbers evolved and how they compare apples to apples.
So one of my questions, Mr. Roush and Dr. Chestnut, I know that one of our schools will be without any type of a health person. So I would like to see if there was a way that we could hire an aide or something, because I am concerned with liability issues. Every student deserves to be safe. I think our staff and teachers are overworked now, that to have to sit in an office with sick kids. And then mom has to come get them, so our absentee goes up. So I would just like us to look at that and see if there was a way to use any of those funds and maybe bring that back at the next board meeting. And I know that's outside of this budget, but it looks like there is a little bit of leeway even in this proposed budget to handle student safety.
Yes,
Am
ma'am.
I
Sure, yes, ma'am.
missing some?
We can do that.
On the next
Okay.
agenda, that's no problem.
I mean, because I see some places in this proposed budget that there's a little bit of leeway. I mean, even if it was a nurse's aide or a health aide, that's half the cost of a nurse. And the nurse is at the school right next door to cover anything else. Plus, I know Marilyn goes out a lot and covers when it needs to be done. That's my. Okay. So is there any motions or further discussion on this proposed budget for fiscal year 2015?
I would just like to see what you'd ask for.
Before we approve this proposed
yeah.
budget? So the timeline, I know that we have to get some things done. Can this,
Just to make an observation. I think what you're requesting is a pretty low-cost item.
yes,
And the capacity to do that is in the proposed budget. And what that
Yeah.
would really mean would be that if we spent $50,000 on a health aid, then, or $35,000, probably a better number,
Right.
then we would have that much less to put into reserve. In any case, the expenditure level would be permitted under the proposed budget.
Okay.
Or
That
the
makes sense.
revision. Or the revision throughout
when
the
we,
year.
yeah, when we revise
Okay.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
Now I get it.
this is the proposed, and
Right.
we do an adopted budget within 10 days afterwards. And then we can do a budget revision starting in December all the way through May.
Right.
So that's when some of those are done. And sometimes school districts do quite a bit of budget revisions
Yes.
during that time. So that's all possible.
Okay. That's the answer I wanted to hear. You just made me happy. Okay, so with any other discussion or motions?
Motion to approve the
Okay.
proposed budget.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good discussion.
Thank you. I just want to commend a couple of my staff members, Karen
Absolutely.
Honeycutt and some others that really helped with this. But a lot of work and getting it done a little bit earlier. So, but
It's nice. And I know that you don't have all the information from ADE, which has made it difficult, but thank you. It's nice to see it earlier.
you're welcome.
All right, that brings us to 7C. Discussion and possible approval of hiring up to 3 additional teachers for the purpose of class reduction contingent upon adequate funding from the Student Success Fund. Dr. Chestnut, I know we already started talking about that. Do you want to put the icing on it?
I'd be happy to, yes. We knew that the Student Success Fund was going to be a new revenue source for us this year, and we weren't exactly sure how much that was going to be. We were thinking it was a much smaller number, but as Mr. Roush went through the formulas, he discovered that it looks like it will be probably somewhere around $177,000. and we anticipate that funding will continue over the next several years. I'm a cautious person, and I know ADE does change their formulas at this time of year, and so I purposely wrote that into, well, as I wrote up the agenda item, you know, assuming that the funding, you know, remains in the formula. And I mean, I guess the worst case scenario is they change the formula so that we only get, you know, $100,000. In that case, we'd hire 2 teachers. We would make the revenue match the hiring of staff, and that's the intent of the agenda item. But it's good news that we could add 3 additional teachers.
Any discussion, questions for Dr. Chestnut, or motions on this item?
I move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? And a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Beckett, come on, get busy. Quit playing solitaire over there. All right, that brings us to 7D. Discussion and possible approval of additional funding for district-wide technology and additional funding to support the academic focus at all 9 schools. Discussion?
I have a question. If the schools are given I'm assuming they're just given a dollar amount for their, okay. If they choose to hire a teacher maybe for a specialized class or something, can they use that money to do that, or is that no?
Kind of taken that subject on a case-by-case basis. We've told schools they can't hire like an additional teacher for the reduction of class size. That's kind of, because that's an ongoing commitment, that's a district responsibility. On the other hand, there could be a place for focused activities, 1 year at a time kind of thing. So I think that's what you're talking about, and I do think that kind of thing is a possibility. At this point in time, nobody actually did that as an expenditure with this year's academic focus funds, but I know we've discussed it. The principals have been discussing it all spring, and I know they're interested.
But would the concern there be that, I mean, if you're going to fund a teacher, that's $50,000, that's $150,000. You've got to be able to sustain it. So
Exactly.
I guess that's
Right, so we don't want to hire somebody on a contract that would be considered continuing, but we could say do an overload stipend at the secondary level to teach an additional class might be a good example, or pay somebody to run an after-school program, something like that.
And I'm going to ask again, could that be used for a nurse aide if we juggled
Yes.
the figures?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, assuming that's a board decision that we're going to add a position in nursing, yes, that would be permissible.
So would we need to wait to approve this until we get more information on the cost of that?
Well, I think what you're hinting at is that, let's say we hired a teacher's aide, a nurse's aide at $35,000 a year. We're trying to project out 3 years, so really the true cost of that person is over $100,000, and you want to have a revenue source for it. So yes, we might want to consider reducing technology or academic focus to account for that. And so to give us the time to do the research on that nursing staffing, we might want to consider postponing this decision because it's not urgent.
Unless you think that in some of the other funds, there would be leeway that way.
And I think that's a possibility. I'd like to be able to research that with Mr. Roush and kind of bring you
Okay.
back, the different options.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Those lines, though, I know you want to project out for 3 years, but when you consider some of the things we're thinking about for the next 3 years, that position might not be necessary for 3 years. So we need to take that into consideration too. And I think in that case, if it wasn't, our current budget capacity outside of this would be able to take that on for 1 year.
Well, I would like to get more information on what that cost would be and what the possibilities would be. I mean, I would like to entertain the motion to table this until the 25th meeting, since there's not a deadline on this item, correct? So I'm looking for a motion to table.
A motion to table this item until the 25th.
I'll second.
Thank you. Do you have discussion? Yes, go for it.
When we bring it back, and I know that you have given me some information on what the 200,000 for technology is going to go for, but I would like maybe expanded information, just because it seems that we've purchased a lot of technology in our academic focus monies that for this year, and I think the 300,000 that could be approved is also going to go to quite a bit of technology. The Chin provided a lot of money for technology, and so I just would like to know what the necessity of this technology is and the specifics of it, just to make sure that that's the adequate use for it.
That's a good request. I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Because in total, we're looking at $500,000.
For
The
focus
whole-
and technology,
Correct.
yes.
So just want to see what our other options are.
Right, but this year, in this current year, we
Correct.
spent a couple $100,000, I think it was almost 500,000, 600,000 on academic focuses, which a lot of that purchased technology, so.
Dr. Chestnut, I would also request that you bring with you at the next meeting your full assurance that these funds, every dollar, is going to go to improving student achievement and is aligned with our academic focus, which is what we're talking about here. So if we get in, if the board wants to hire a nurse's aide, for example, which is the topic of discussion, then that's, in my opinion, a separate discussion and should not be commingled with these funds. These funds need to be specific to improving student achievement based on the academic focus of the schools.
Okay, so we've had discussion. There is a motion and a second. Any other discussion? There's a motion to table until the June 25th meeting and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. That brings us to, sorry, my thing just went crazy. All right, so we're going to vote on each one of these separately. So I'm going to read each one, and we're going to take a vote, and that way each executive session is voted on separately, but we will just exit one time, and we'll have our e-session over in the room over here to the side. Just because we have so many items, the attorney has advised us to vote on each one separately before we leave, okay? So just bear with me while I read everything. All right, item 7F. Approved to adjourn to executive session pursuant of ARS 38431 in A3. The board may convene to hold an executive session for discussion and consultation for legal advice from the board's attorney regarding discussion of student discipline matter. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 7G. Approved to adjourn to executive session. The governing board may vote to convene an executive session pursuant to ARS 15843, student suspension, expulsion for discussion of student discipline matter for student A's appeal. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 7H. Approved to adjourn to executive session pursuant of ARS 38431 A3. The board may convene to hold an executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice from the board's attorney regarding discussion of student discipline matter. Do I have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7I. Approved to adjourn to executive session. The governing board may vote to convene an executive session pursuant to ARS 15843, student suspension, expulsion for discussion of student discipline matters for student B. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Last one, 7J. Approved to adjourn to executive session. The governing board may vote to convene an executive session pursuant to ARS 38431A for discussion or consideration of the renewal of the current superintendent's employment agreement and form the agreement. The superintendent has been provided with the statutory required notice. Upon his demand, the governing board's discussion or consideration will occur in public meeting, with the exception of salary discussions. The governing board may vote to convene to executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431A4 for discussion or consultation with its attorney in order to consider its position and instruct its attorney regarding the superintendent's future contract. The attorney may appear in person or telephonically. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will now go into executive session into the room off to the side. And bring your computers. He's got plug-ins.